Stephen Jones, we mentioned we're going to talk to him, the Shadow Assistant Treasurer. We'll get to the public service shake-up in a moment. First, though, what's your view now, what's Labor's view on the prospect of a lifetime ban for refugees who are resettled in New Zealand to come to Australia? Because that's been the stumbling block for the government in taking up that offer, which Jacinda Ardern has reiterated this morning is still there.
Yeah, look, a couple of things I'd say. If there is a secret deal on the table, and this is a part of it, let's have an open debate about it. There's no public interest in keeping this sort of thing private and covered up. Thing two, if we can get those people off Manus and Nauru to New Zealand, that's got to be a good thing. Labor would support it. To your question about a lifetime ban, this never, ever, ever proposition, I'll give you a couple of examples why I think it's impractical. There's kids there, okay? Let's say one of those 5-year-olds at the age of 18 goes to New Zealand, at the age of 18 joins the New Zealand Defence Force and is involved in a joint operation with the Australian Defence Force. Is that guy excluded? Let's say one of them joins the New Zealand National Party and becomes a minister in the New Zealand Parliament. Is that guy excluded from coming to Australia? Say they're the Trade Minister. Are they excluded from coming to Australia? And we're talking about forever and ever sort of arrangements. I just think that's a little bit silly, to be honest. Let's come to a practical, pragmatic solution. If we can get those people off those islands and into New Zealand, that'd be a great outcome.
So the argument of the government is in those situations it would be up to the discretion of the minister. You could make a special application. It's similar to what we have with other countries. So why should this be treated any differently?
Look, my view, and this is my view, you've just put it to me where this stuff is just unfolding as it comes, so you forgive me, I'm not talking on behalf of the Labor Minister or the Labor Cabinet on this, but my view is let's take a pragmatic approach, get those people off those islands and deal with some of these complicated cases as they arise. Yeah,
well that certainly makes sense because that's in everyone's. I think the government's certainly very keen to have it resolved for a number of reasons. And Peter Dutton, he himself, he was the one who got all the children off Nauru. So
that's not quite true. There are still kids there. He says that, but it's not true.
What in terms of those that have been
there are kids there have been kids since he made those statements on Manus and Nauru.
Okay, well they're adamant that all the kids have been removed. The fact is the government does want a humanitarian outcome here, as much as it's criticised.
Sorry, I'm not trying to pick points. We want those kids off New Zealand, off
the government
those
wants
islands,
that to happen too.
And if we can get them to New Zealand, we can get a pragmatic arrangement around that. I think that'd be a good outcome.
And I guess for Labor as well, it'd be nice to just move on from this issue because it's been a devastating one for you.
Politics of it are toxic, and the humanity gets left out when the politics gets injected into it, and that's a bad thing for Australia, a bad thing for the people on Nauru.
Now, when it comes to this public service consolidation, 18 departments down to 14, it does seem like he's trying to get the most out of the resources he has there, even if he's saying no layoffs. What do you make of today's announcement?
Look, I don't accept there won't be layoffs. There always is. In fact, here's the injustice in it all. 5 departmental secretaries have been sacked today, but Angus Taylor still keeps his job. I mean, a lot of people have got to be saying, where's the justice in that? These 5 departmental secretaries, amongst them Mike Murdoch, highly esteemed public service, brought into the communications department to clean up the mess that Mitch Fifield made, did a good job of that. He's been sacked today. 4 others amongst him. But Angus Taylor, who has been completely incompetent, probably the most incompetent minister on Scott Morrison's front bench, keeps his job. The Prime Minister should sack him today, save himself all the loss of credibility he's getting by maintaining Angus on the front bench.
Do you accept the Prime Minister's assurance there that this is not about trying to cut costs beyond those secretaries who've lost their jobs, that it's not about a job-cutting exercise?
Look, you have to accept that, and here's why. Generally, these sort of mergers cost the taxpayer money. There's actually a lot of money involved in bringing departments together. I'm not just talking about new stationery, new letter. There's a lot of transaction costs, so it generally costs a lot more than any of the savings that are realised over the medium term. So that's what I'd make. So, yes, he's just stating the obvious when he says it's not about cost cuts. Look, frankly, the real test of whether it's effective or not is whether a pensioner who's applying for a pension can get it approved inside 6 months, which is the average wait time now. Somebody applying on the NDIS for a new plan or a new wheelchair can wait up to 5 months Is that happening quicker? That's got to be the real test. One thing that I'm a little bit concerned about, I've got to say, this new mega department that's got agriculture, water and the environment in it, does that mean the National Party is now in charge of environment policy in this country?
Well, Susan Lee's staying on as Environment Minister. He said it in the press conference.
But she will be reporting to the head of that department under the coalition, the secret coalition agreement. We think that job is reserved for a National Party cabinet minister. That's a little bit worrying, given their track record on environmental matters.
It does make sense, though, to have water in with agriculture and environment, because it is an important part of the environment. They're quite interlinked.
Look, absolutely agree that you can't deal with water issues without considering the environmental issues, that we've got to ensure that our agriculture is done in a long-term sustainable way. My single point here is that the National Party, which has got a lock on that job, has got an appalling record in this area.
Well, the Nationals already, from what I've heard since that announcement, wanting to be reassured that they'll still have their 3 senior ministers of the 14 departments, given the way the coalition agreement's done. But anyway, we'll see.
Let the Hunger Games begin.
We'll get some clarity on that. Stephen Jones, thanks. Appreciate it.